4. So that is it now. So I've made, that's 24 stitches around. If I'd have used a smaller hook, it would have been smaller in size. And there, I mean, you can just about see there's a few holes in it there. I mean, it's not really very holy, but if I'd used a smaller hook, it would have been smaller in size and the stitches would have been tighter. As I said, because it's just a little sprout we're making, you know, I don't really, you know, it doesn't really matter. So let me get me thingy up now. So there we are, 18, 24. Leave a long tail so you can sew it to the sphere. Right, that's fine. So we need to make 3 of those. Now, because I'm going to be fastening off, if I were just to cut the yarn there, obviously I'm left with, see that's sticking up there? We don't really want that. It looks a little bit messy. So I generally, it doesn't say to do this in the pattern, but generally this is what I do. So I just chain 1, skip a stitch, and then just do a slip stitch into the stitch after that. And then when I've cut my, when I've fastened off, then it's not quite circular, but it certainly doesn't give you the you know, the horrible great big raised bit there. So it's 3 of those I want to be making. So that didn't take 2 minutes. Well, if I'd stopped talking, it probably wouldn't have only taken 2 minutes, but I do like to jibber jabber. Right, so let's try this again. So I'm going to start with just a slip knot on the hook here, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to make 6 single crochets into that first chain there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I want to increase the entire round. So that's going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch I've just made. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you can see on this one, I've put my slip knot on the wrong way round, so I've tied it round, so it's left a bit of a hole in the middle there. It doesn't really matter, because when it comes to tying the whole thing together, I will use this tail of yarn and sort of weave it through the stitches here and pull it tight, and then it'll suck it all together, but make it all, you know, make it tight then. So I'm not overly concerned about that. So that's the first repeat done, and now I'm going to, now it's the second round of increases. So we're not going to be increasing in every stitch, we're going to be increasing every other stitch. So so we're going to put 2 in the first, then 1 on its own, so 3, and then 4 and 5 in the next stitch, 4 and 5 in there, the 6th in the next stitch, 7th and 8th in the stitch after that, 7th and 8th, 9th in the stitch after that, and you guessed it, 10 and 11 in the one after that, and no prizes, but yep, 12th in the next, and then 13th and 14th in the next stitch, 15th in the one after that, 16th and 17th in that next one, and then last but not least the 18th and final stitch of that round into the last stitch there. So because I haven't used a stitch marker, you can't really tell, you know, if you lose your way somewhat and you get you just have to count backwards. I am talking as though everybody that would be listening to this knows what they're talking about, so if anybody is watching this at a later date and has any questions, then by all means I will always do my best to try and explain myself better. So now we've got the last final row, which is, it's another row of increases. So again, when you're always doing a third round of increases, it is increase in the first stitch. So 1, 2, and then just one stitch in the next after that, and a stitch in the next, a single stitch in the next after that. So I've got a way of counting, so I just do 1, 2, and then 3, 4. But that was the second one I did, so that's actually 8. So 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now it doesn't matter which stitch you increase. Oh, my glasses broke because I fell over earlier and smacked my head on the side of the pavement. Yes, it doesn't matter which stitch you increase in, as long as you're increasing every second, every third stitch. So you do a single crochet on its own in that stitch, a single crochet on its own in that stitch, and then 2 in the next stitch. So you'd be 1, 2, and then 2 in the next, 1, 2, and then 2 in the next. But similarly, you could also put your increase in the first stitch and then 2 single ones after. It doesn't matter. The only time that really comes into account is when you're trying to crochet a flat circle, but that's a stream for another time, I'm sure. So again, that's the end of that one. So I'm just going to chain 1 again and miss a stitch and then do a slip stitch just to make it look a bit neater. I don't think it's going to matter ultimately in this project, because I think they're all going to be sewn sort of together like so at the back, so I don't think it really matters too much what they look like. But just, I do try to be as neat as I possibly can. It doesn't always work out that way, but alright, so 1, 2. So let's try it again. So we've got 6 in this first one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And also what I could do is, I've done it again, see if you notice, I've put my slip stitch on, wound it around the needle the wrong way, the hook the wrong way, so if I pull it, it doesn't make it doesn't close the hole. But what I could do is, when I'm stitching it in on this new round now, my increasing round, I could just tuck the tail under my stitches. So I'll just do that now. So I'm going to increase on this round, so I'm just going to oh crumsies, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and again I'm just carrying the yarn around with me and crocheting it under my stitches. 1, 2, and there we go again. 1, and again. Oops. And I think this is the last one. 1 and 2. Have I done 12? I'm not sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, one more. 10 and oopsie. 11 and 12. Okay, so now if I pull the here, you can see it's closed, just about closed that hole. Let me just pull it harder. It's gonna, pull the whole thing in like so, but you can just straighten that back out again. That's fine. There we are. It hasn't had the effect that I wanted to, so I'm going to call that a little bit of a failure. I think it'll work best if I sew it in, if I just use a needle, an actual sewing needle to put that in. Oh well, I tried. Didn't like it. I think the yarn is too soft. Anyway, so we're on to the third round of increases now, which exactly the same as the last round. It's a single crochet and then an increase in the next one. So, or you could increase the first one and then a single in the next one. It doesn't matter as long as you've got 18 stitches by the end of the round set out or put in evenly. That's all you need. So we'll do 1, 2. I'm going to double in my first one. So 2 and 3.